Okay, we're in studio talking about this new crazy erotica mommy porn sex book titled 50 Shades of Grey. And the only reason why I freaking read this book was because my therapist, yes, therapist, suggested I read this to enlighten my life with my wife. Ooh, it rhymed. But yeah, 50 Shades of Grey. First off, looked it up, was a fanfic, and I was just like, are you joking? Twilight. I opened the Twilight book, the first book, read 20 pages, and wanted to stab myself in the face with a fork. I mean, studied English in school, I'm an English teacher. I almost wanted to kill myself because the writing was so pathetic, and Bella Swan really needs to die and reach puberty because she's absolutely pathetic. And there goes a motorcycle. Anyway, that was Edward Cullen's motorcycle. Or wait, were the werewolves the one that rode the motorcycles? I don't fucking know. Anyway, 50 Shades of Grey. I read this book in 2 days. I was compelled. It was a compelling book, I will be honest. But I mostly read it because I was looking for something that would help me in the future. Now, this is just a terrible book. I mean, it's just seriously terrible, and we'll get to that in a minute. I mean, for all of you who don't know, it's about this prude, college graduate, naive, whatever, virgin, Anastasia Steele, who apparently has never had a boyfriend or kissed a man her entire life. And she meets up with... Oh, she works at a hardware store too, by the way. Ha. Girls at hardware stores. Sexism at its finest. That was to appease the feminazis. But anyway, she meets Christian Steele, or Grey, this rich, sexy guy who's like fucking 8 years older than her, who apparently has nothing better to do than to shop at the same hardware store she works at, and who apparently has the ability to track her cell phone and somehow not get arrested for doing so. And they have this crazy contractual / non-contractual relationship in which he can't get over the fact that he was raped by some Mrs. Robinson. Not the Mrs. Robinson in the Beatles. No, this Mrs. Robinson was different. But yeah, and he's basically screwed up in the head because of it, and she somehow is screwed up in the head because he's so drop-dead gorgeous, and she doesn't really think that maybe she should run and call the police or something because he won't let her leave his apartment ever, ever, ever. So yeah. So basically the whole book delves on her meeting up with him and her inner goddess talking about whether or not she should screw him or whether or not she should say screw you and leave him, which happens toward maybe 3/4 of the way through the book, but somehow he ends up following her to Georgia because the whole time she's actually at the bar with her mother, she's exchanging these quote-unquote witty emails with him on his BlackBerry or MacBook. I can't remember which it was, whatever. If you're listening to this, you already know what it is. Feel free to correct me. And she pisses him off, so all of a sudden she turns around and lo and behold, there he is on a bar stool waiting for her. In real life, might I add, because someone just has the ability to fly with no thought at all from Seattle to Georgia before the protagonist makes any sort of thought or movement whatsoever. Great rating. And the whole reason she even goes to Georgia is after maybe the first or second crazy scene where she's in that whole red room of pain or pleasure, which is, might I add, a playroom in quotes. Love the quotes. Full of, a big giant bed, antiquate, medieval perhaps, with bedpost. Oh gee, I wonder what the bedposts are for. Shall we get out the silk scarves and neckties now or later? Spoiler alert, maybe. it's got a rack with paddles and whips and chains and a flogging station, and it's like the kind of crap that you'd watch if you were, a 20-year-old college student with pimples and never actually got laid. But anyway, that's the whole Red Room of Pain. She decides that maybe he is screwed up in the brain and she probably shouldn't be with him, so she decides to run to Mommy and her, third husband, father, whatever. I guess if her original father is maybe the second husband of the mother, I don't know. I mean, it's basically like Ice Cream Social, divorce, guidance counselor, elementary school for all those people that were screwed up as 60-year-olds and didn't know what divorce actually was. So yeah, she goes to Georgia, and surprisingly her mother doesn't see anything wrong with this. I mean, her mother's like, "What's wrong, honey? Are you crying? What's wrong? Have you met somebody?" And Anastasia's like, "No, Mom, I'm really great." Even though she's thinking in the back of her head, this creepy guy is trying to rape me in this Red Room of Pain every single day because we have sex 3 times a day and somehow he still doesn't get tired out. Oh, and by the way, he's in the same bar as us talking about how many cosmopolitans I'm going to drink so he can rape me some more. Which honestly is physically impossible if you're a man and have a normal functioning dick. There's just no humanly way you could have sex that many times and actually want it. I mean, you're looking at a girl, you're passionate, blah, 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 you really want to go. After you're done, you're done. If not, then you're a frickin' liar because you never wanted her in the first place. I mean, it's a one-shot deal. You're all or nothing. I mean, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but, you try to go for seconds, you really can't do it as good as you could do the first time. It's just how you roll. It's like eating a really good dinner. Once you eat a really good dinner, you don't want to go back for seconds because you can't eat it again. You don't want it. But anyway, yeah, so that's pretty much half the relationship right there. So yeah, the whole book functions around, her getting screwed 3 times a day and him wanting it, and him saying how he can't be touched because of his whole past and blah-de-blah-de-blah-de, and she's so curious about his past, yet she doesn't see anything wrong with the fact that the only way he can get off is by screwing her and playing solemn songs on the piano. And, when does it get boring? I'm sorry, but after having sex that many times in, the 3 weeks or whatever they've been together, I'd be done. I mean, forget it. You can only play with fuzzy cuffs and whips and straps and shit so many times before you're just forget it, I'm done. And they describe it as vanilla sex. The last time I heard vanilla anything was when we were talking about World of Warcraft before the 2 expansions came out. Vanilla, meaning plain and boring and blah. Well, I'm sorry, since when has sex been boring at all? If it's boring to you, then you ain't doing it right. If you gotta bring all this other crap and manacles and appendages and all this other utility crap, then there's something wrong with you. And I mean, it's pretty obvious Christian Grey's a little screwy in the brain, but I think it's really ridiculous that Anastasia's like, "Oh my God, he wants to rape me every day, but I'm just going to keep coming back to him because he's so handsome." Honey, there's other guys out there that'll wine and dine you, but I guess maybe, she wants to feel like she's a whore every day. I mean, she says it 4 times to him, and he gets all twitchy palm, and if I have to hear about twitchy palms and biting your lip and inner goddess and outer goddess, I mean, clearly Anastasia Steele's got some kind of multiple personality disorder or something, and clearly Christian's obviously some kind of crackhead who needs to get his shit figured out. I mean, he sees a counselor, but you don't really hear about how that's actually going. I take it it's probably like seeing a Dr. Drew or Dr. Phil, where they just tell him to get a job and get over it. Well, he's a billionaire. He doesn't really have to worry about that. I mean, come on, girls. He buys you an Audi. He buys you some fancy books that you love. I mean, obviously, she's some bookworm who loves curling up by the fire. I mean, how cliche can this actually get? Girl loves to read. She wears Converse sneakers. I mean, come on. Converse. Since when did Converse equal hopeless romantic? You know, she's a bookworm. He's a rich, fancy schman's billionaire. I mean, what are the odds of them actually meeting in real life? Really, that's like saying that, you know, I'm going to go out and meet Bill Gates and we're going to have some kind of steamy gay relationship or something. You know, not what I couldn't think of a rich girl. Sorry. Oprah Winfrey. Okay, whatever. But anyway, yeah. So, like, you know, between flipping through the pages where they have sex all the time and, you know, he touches her and it's so erotic and she orgasms every single time that they do it, which is ridiculous. That would never actually happen. I mean, come on, seriously? I mean, there's even a few scenes where she actually goes before he does. Now, don't get that screw look on your face and be like, oh, he must have really liked the book if he's keeping close tabs on stuff like that. Yeah, okay, I did read it in 2 days. Not gonna lie, the book wasn't bad. But really, I just wanted to see how far the train was really gonna wreck off the tracks. I mean, with that prior point, come on. If you're a human being, you should know that it takes a dude like 5 minutes to come. I mean, god damn it, we can look at something on TV and get horny and get over it. And, you know, for a girl, you gotta take her out to dinner, you gotta go to a movie, you gotta take her shopping, you gotta tell her how beautiful she is. It probably takes a week of cajoling before she finally actually gets to the point where she even wants to do you in the first place. I mean, okay, maybe I'm being a little ridiculous, but that's the point. This is the other perspective of how ridiculous things are. She makes it too easy, I make it too hard because I'm a guy and it is a little bit difficult. You can't just go and grab a girl's ass and expect she's going to sleep with you. Nowadays, you're going to get kicked in the nuts and you're going to find your ass taking 5 to 10 years in jail for harassment, alright? And that's the problem. This whole book is just so ridiculous. It's 2012. I get it. We're trying to be all sensual and in our inner stuff and, you know, stuff's crazy and the world sucks and let's try to explore our inner barbarian, sex god, whatever. Well, on the other hand, you can't just go up to a random stranger, expect them to buy an Audi and 3 books, and take in a helicopter ride. Oh yeah, and smack you with a belt on your ass 6 times, which actually hurts. Because if any of you younger people, I'm saying, you know, I'm 26, you know, the 20s, whatever, who actually got spanked before it became this big moral dilemma, getting belted on your ass actually hurts. I don't see where you can find it pleasurable. I don't see where E.L. James can even write that it's erotic and pleasurable. But yeah, spoiler alert, that's how it ends, with her crying in her bed, thinking that, oh, maybe this relationship isn't going to work for me. Duh! Maybe you should have thought of that after you had sex with him for 3 weeks straight, 3 times a frickin' day. And make you sign a contract that you're going to be a sex slave forever, okay? So, I'm sorry, but yeah, this book is really, really ridiculous. Okay, end result, either E.L. James has never had actual, real, normal, vanilla, in quotes, sex in her whole life. Maybe she hasn't been romanticized. Maybe, I don't know, taken to like Denny's for breakfast in the morning after they've done it. Whatever. Maybe she's just at that age. Well, who knows? Maybe she doesn't even have kids. Maybe she does have kids and she's at that point where she can't have sex anymore because every time she thinks of having sex, she imagines a kid popping out of her vagina and there's a bunch of money down the drain. I don't know about you, but I don't really think of sex equals kids. Who knows? Maybe that's just me being immature, whatever not. But yeah, maybe she's just at that point, and she figures she'd rather write a book about her fantasies than actually being an adult and enacting her fantasies. But at the end, she's making $1 zillion off of 30, 40-year-old mommy porn people reading the book. Oh, wait, cough, cough. 26-year-old dudes who, you know, want to read the book for actual to see what's going on in the world. I mean, I try to keep up with the times, but see, this is what happens. Books like this come out, and then I can't